Hey friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a Nautical Father's Day card for you guys using the Lawn Fawn Life is Good stamp set. I'll also be using the Dad Plus Me and the Really Rainbow 6x6 pattern paper pad. I've stamped the lighthouse and sandbank in Memento Tuxedo black ink on some Copic friendly cardstock, and then the grasses I did in Lawn Fawn jalapeno ink, and then I dabbed a little bit of Noble Fir down at the bottom so they have a little bit of shading down there. And I'm going to color the lighthouse and the sandbank with my Copic markers. I'm starting with the lighthouse, and for the red stripes I'm using my favorite red combo, which is R29, R39, and R59. The first thing I did was lay in my shadows with that R59, and I'm putting them a little bit more heavily on the left side, but I also want a little bit of shadow on the right side, and that's going to make that lighthouse look like it's really round and it's kind of coming off the page there. It's going to give it a little bit more of a three-dimensional look. Then I brought in a little bit of that color towards the center with the R39 as my mid-tone, and now I'm going to finish everything up with the R29 as my highlight. So I'm doing the top roof in the red and then every other stripe, and then the remaining stripes are going to be white. So for the white stripes, I'm actually going to use some warm grays just so they also have a little bit of dimension and shading. So I'm using W00, W1, and W3, and I'm coloring in exactly the same way as I did the red, just starting with that W3 and laying in a little bit of shadow on both sides, but a little more heavily on the left, and then blending with the W1. And then I will soften the edge of that W1 with the W00. I'm not going to bring the color all the way in. I don't want to cover up all the white because I do want it to look white still, and this will dry back a little bit, but I do want there to be some nice shadow that matches the red. Then I'm going to bring in the W5 and W7 along with that same W3, and I'm going to use that to color in the doors and the windows. I'm imagining that this scene is going to be taking place in the daytime, so I don't think that there would be lights on inside. I am going to put a little bit of a light in the top because I do believe the lighthouse stays lit all day long. I'm pretty sure that's how it is, but I thought the windows and the door would be dark. I'm using BG11 to just add a few little stripes to highlight that glass portion and just make it look a little bit more realistic. And then I'm going to come in with a couple of yellows. I'm using Y11 and Y13. I started with the Y13 and just did a little circle, and then I'm blending kind of a semicircle around that with the Y11 to give it a little glow. I decided I needed just a little bit more of like a flame type look, so I just came in with the Y17 and then blended that with the Y13. For my sandbank, I'm going to use E51, E53, and E55. I'm starting with that E55 and coming in from both sides. I am going to carry that color down a little bit farther because I want my hill to be extra high. I'm actually going to fussy cut this out because if you use the die, it just gives you a very little sliver. It's not very big, and I wanted a little bit more ground there. So I just blended with the E53 and then finished with the E51 as the highlight, and then added a little bit more of that E55 on the outside edges and blended once again with the E53. And now I'm just going to trim these out with the matching dies and then fussy cut the sandbank. So I've also trimmed down a piece of mermaid and blue jay cardstock using the Lawn Fawn Ocean Wave borders, and then I added a little bit of detail with the Ocean Wave accents. So I'm going to set the blue jay cardstock piece aside for a second and add a bead of glue to the bottom of my sandbank. Then I'm going to take the lighter mermaid cardstock and add that right over top. Just kind of line it up and make sure I have it right where I want it and press that down into place. And I like using that liquid glue because I can adjust as needed until it dries permanent. Then I'm going to add another bead of glue to the back of that and line that up with the Blue Jay cardstock. So the sandbank is going to be kind of sandwiched in between both of those. For my sky in the background, I'm going to take another piece of blue cardstock. This one is going to be a paler blue than the mermaid, so there's a little bit of differentiation there. And then I'm just going to add my waves to that. Then I'm just going to figure out where I want to put my lighthouse. I kind of wanted it off to one of the sides because I am going to be trimming this panel down, and I thought it would look better kind of shifted over to the right, so that's where I decided to put it. Then these little grasses, I'm going to take one and put it right in front of the lighthouse, kind of overlapping, so it looks like there's some shrubbery there or some, wild grasses growing on the beach. And then I'm going to take another one and tuck that down behind the sandbank so it looks a little bit further back in the distance. And then the third one, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to put it over on the right side of the sandbank. Then I'm going to take one of the Lawn Fawn stitched oval stackables. This is the second largest in that die set. And I'm just going to line that up on my scene and see where I want that to go. And then I'm going to run this whole panel through my Cuttlebug and trim that out. Once I have that, I'll pop it in my MISTI. Just make sure it's nice and straight and then hold that in place with my magnets. And then I'll stamp that in some Versamark ink. This is the Onyx Black Versamark ink. I'm also stamping two little seagulls that are also from the Life is Good stamp set. And the sentiments are both from the Dad Plus Me. And I wanted to add a third seagull, so I just removed the sentiments and the other seagulls from the door of my MISTI. And then I just moved that and stamped that down once more. While I have my MISTI out, I'm also going to stamp the inside of my card, and for that I'm using Lawn Fawn Peacock ink, and I'm using the sentiment that says, "You brighten my life," from the Life is Good stamp set, and then the two seagulls I put in the top right corner, and that's just because I'm very long-winded, especially to my dad, so I needed lots of room to leave a message. I trimmed down my pattern papers with the stitched rectangle stackables, and I'm going to adhere that directly to my card front. This red stripe is going to completely cover up the front of the card, and then this blue ledger print is going to go right in the center. Then I've got another oval that I just die cut out of some white cardstock, and this is using the largest in that stitched oval stackables set. And I'm going to layer that on top of my pattern paper, and that's going to be kind of a mat for our focal panel. I've added some foam tape to the back of that, so I'll just peel off the release papers and line that up in the center, make sure that's right where I want that, and press it down into place. I know we usually try to stay away from glitter and other sparkly embellishments on masculine cards, but I couldn't resist adding just a dab of crystal stickles to that light in the lighthouse. I think it really makes it glow. And that is going to complete our card for today. There's another peek at the inside, and you can kind of catch the shimmer of the crystal stickles as I tip it into the light. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would love to have you. Here's 2 extra videos you may also enjoy, and hopefully those will tide you over until my next one. Until then, I hope you all have an amazing day, and I wish all your dads and husbands and brothers and sons a very happy Father's Day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.